I'm running for governor to expand freedom in South Carolina, not restrict it. I want women to have the freedom to control their very own bodies. I want our veterans to have the freedom to use marijuana when they come back from serving our country. I want to legalize sports betting. I want to take all that money. I want to pay our teachers finally what they deserve. And I want to fix our roads on top of that. I want to clarify the record that I am against vaccine mandates. And I have been, because it's your body, it's your choice, and politicians need to be consistent and let people make their own health care decisions. Governor McMaster doesn't see that. As it relates to the state income tax, what we propose are new streams of revenue. Legalizing marijuana, legalizing sports betting.
Do you support someone being able to purchase a gun in this state even if a background check is not completed?
Listen, we have the highest crime rate after Governor McMaster has been serving for almost 6 years. And part of that problem, part of it, it's very complex and there's a lot of moving parts, but part of the problem is the bad people with guns. People getting their hands on firearms that should not have them. And I was proud to co-sponsor a bill when I was in Congress that closed the Charleston loophole. And what that loophole is if after 3 days of doing a background check, if that background check is not completed, the seller can go ahead and sell the gun anyways. I'm just of the belief that if you start a background check, you should finish it. And most people know that it's called the Charleston loophole because of a monster named Dylan Roof, who went to purchase a firearm. His background check was not completed, and they sold it to him anyways. And then he went into Mother Emanuel Church and murdered 9 people while their heads were bowed in prayer. Folks, I'm a gun owner. I've got my concealed weapon permit. I grew up around guns. Again, it's not the good people with guns that bother me. It's the bad people with guns. And I just feel like if you start a background check, you should finish it. That's just responsibility. The fact is that I took over 900 votes while I was in Congress. And around 8% of those votes were with Nancy Pelosi. I was ranked one of the most independent and one of the most bipartisan members of Congress. And that's exactly the kind of governor that I'm going to be. Independent and thinking for himself. I'm not going to apologize for fighting for more freedom, especially for our veterans that Governor McMaster has slammed the door on. Because, Governor, I served on the Veterans Affairs Committee. I've heard countless stories. You know, the Marine who lost a limb from a roadside bomb and told me that every night when he laid his head down on his pillow, he had flashbacks of that bomb and was unable to go to sleep. And the only thing that allowed him to go to sleep at night was using marijuana. I think he deserves that freedom. And a lot of veterans who are scared of becoming addicted to opioids, why can't we give them that medical freedom? Now, 4 years ago, Governor McMaster stood on the stage with James Smith saying he was against medical marijuana. I support Senator Tom Davis's bill. I think we can do that. That's why 90% of Americans support it as well. But we have career politicians that have become so disconnected from where the rest of the country and where the rest of the state is. I want to move our state forward and take it into the future and out of the past. And look, there are ways in which we can improve our elections. You know, I voted on a bill in Congress that would end gerrymandering. You know, I don't believe that politicians ought to be drawing lines to pick their voters. I think voters should be able to pick their politicians. Governor McMaster signed a bill that's being challenged right now because it gerrymanders all the districts. And look, folks, it's ripping our democracy apart at its very fabric. And I've seen it firsthand in Washington, D.C. You know, what politicians do when the only fear that they have is losing the primary. And once they get to the primary, the general election is all set. Folks, I believe in automatic voter registration, but I believe that we need to end gerrymandering. Wouldn't you agree, Governor?
Sure. Congressman, let's not ask questions. We're asking questions.
Again, it's ripping apart our democracy. Yeah, look, I agree with what President Biden did recently with expunging the records of low-level drug offenders and letting them out of prison. Again, I want to legalize marijuana. I'd love to do that on the state level as well with low-level drug offenders, because I believe that police officers are using way too much time to go after nonviolent marijuana users. Governor McMaster wants to lock up veterans who use marijuana. I don't. I disagree with how President Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. I think that turned out to be a disaster. I also disagree with how he's handling our border crisis right now. And look, folks, maybe a Democrat, but I'm not a cheerleader. I was the first Democrat nationwide to say that President Biden should not run for re-election. I was the first Democrat nationwide to tell Speaker Nancy Pelosi that I would not vote for her for Speaker. And I've stood up to President Trump as well. That's what it means to be an independent and bipartisan, folks. And that's what our country needs more of. We don't have enough elected officials who will be able to move the ball down the field and not care who gets credit. Yeah. I mean, look, the truth is, this is about freedom. And this is about giving South Carolinians more freedom. And, this may be news to Governor McMaster, but this is already going on anyways. People are using marijuana anyways. It's about, if it's going on anyways, the state might as well regulate it, tax it, make some money off it, and give that money to our teachers or fix our roads, which are dead last in our country, and also the second most dangerous. And there's appetite for this. I know Senator Tom Davis ran point on the medical marijuana bill, but there's also Republicans supporting sports betting. And again, I don't care who comes up with these ideas, and I don't really care who gets credit. I just want to move our state forward. I want to bring our state out of the past and into the future. Again, this comes down to freedom. And there are so many people who just want to place a bet on a football game on Saturday or Sunday, and they're doing it illegally. And why is the state missing out on this critical source of revenue? If we want to eliminate the state income tax, like I want to do, then we've got to fill those coffers. And we got to find the money to do the things that our state needs to do.